Hey everybody, welcome to Tyngsborough TV Live. It is Friday finally, thank goodness. I can't believe it's here. It's like the longest week ever, I think, for all of us. I'm Town Media Director Steve Brogan, and thanks for tuning in today. This is our Friday wrap-up. My guest this morning is Chief Howe from the Tyngsborough Police Department. As always, he comes in every other Friday and chats with us about all kinds of different public safety-related issues. We got a bunch of cool stuff we're going to talk about today, some really interesting and cool things that have been happening the last week. At the police department, as well as some other cool stuff coming up here in town. First of all, I want to mention this is that the photo contest is happening now, and submission period ends on the 7th. So you've got a couple more days if you guys want to enter the photo contest. Do it now, and that way you can get in. If you get in late, you won't get entered into this year's contest. So get in by the 7th at midnight, and you will be part of it, and it's a lot of fun. We got a lot of really great submissions so far, some really great photographs that have come in. It's pretty amazing, actually. Love seeing the photos that come in. So that's going on. Also coming up this Saturday, the 6th of April, is the health fair over at Tyngsborough Elementary School. There's going to be a number of groups, police included, police, fire, a whole bunch of different health-related agencies. There's a ninja gym group coming, bringing some cool stuff. All kinds of really neat, interesting things. We'll be there also doing some broadcasting, so it's going to be a fun day. And I think it goes 9 to 1 o'clock. There's also the rain barrel pickup if you ordered a rain barrel, and the e-recycle drop-off is going to be happening there as well. So for a fee, you can drop off some stuff to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and they will take it and dispose of it for you. I think computers, not TVs, excuse me, computers and like all kinds of other electronics, cell phones and that kind of stuff you can get rid of. So lots of cool stuff there if you want to dispose of some items and donate a little bit to the Boys and Girls Club. So that's pretty cool. Also happening is the Best Friends grand opening. That's tomorrow as well. That is at 12:30. They're going to do a ribbon cutting, and they're doing a showing through the facility. So if you haven't seen the video that I did about a month or so ago over at the Best Friends facility before they opened up, that's going to be happening. They are open now, obviously. So if you are a user of Best Friends, you know this already. But if you're new to that whole thing, then you can check them out, see what they're all about. So they get some really neat stuff going on there. Everybody loves pets, right? I mean, who doesn't? Also, the recycling race name. If you can pull up the web page for the new recycling page, there's a website that finally has been approved by Republic Services for recycling to give you some better information on A, what can be recycled, and B, how to recycle it. You have to clean things and all that other stuff. There's a whole bunch of details that you should probably take a look at if you haven't done it already. So here's a quick look at the recycled page. Brayson, what's that URL? I can't read it from here. What's that say? recyclingsimplified.com. So we'll post the link in the description as soon as we're done this broadcast, but recyclingsimplified.com. You can go check it out, get some information. And we are going to do a show at some point in the next week or two with a couple of folks from the Board of Health just as soon as the dust settles from the health fair. So we'll get to that as soon as we can. But definitely check the website out, and you can get some information there, so at least you can get started, and then we'll go from there. Also, let's see, what else am I missing? I can't read, see that list. Oh, and the Winslow reunion. I have been saying for some reason I had April 4th in my head. April 6th in my head. The Winslow reunion is May 4th. So it's a month away. You got some time still. If you want to go to the Winslow School reunion, that is May 4th, and they'll have a whole bunch of stuff. They get food trucks and music, and basically they want all the alumni, anybody who's ever gone to the Winslow School, to show up at this event and just mingle and see everybody. And so if you're a townie and you went to the school, then go there and you can have some fun, hang out, and talk to people that you used to go to school with. So now let's move on and talk to our guest, Mr. Chief Howe. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing all right. A little tired, but otherwise, I'm hanging in there. So we got a couple of cool topics I wanted to chat with you about. First of all, this therapy dog that Officer Bonzar, one of our newest SROs, has brought in to help work in the schools and help with the kids. And how is that going so far?
Very well.
Yeah.
The program actually was started by Bethany on her own. It's her personal animal. The goal of the program, it takes a couple years actually to get a therapy dog certified, and so it's more accurately a therapy dog in training, as she described to me. She can certainly do this more justice in probably a couple weeks. I'd like to bring her in.
Yeah, definitely.
And Sergeant Manning, and talk about the school resource officer program, which, as you know, we've talked many times, is so impressive, and what they've done with the program.
Yeah, it's excellent.
But she has done this on her own, at her own expense. We're now have some interest with local business in town. best friends and in taking part and assisting us with the program. But the program is solely to assist in the schools in the school resource officer program. It's essentially be a supplement to that program. And the school may also have a similar program on their own as well. So we're working in conjunction with the school, and therapy dogs in general, for those who aren't familiar with them, it's a pretty interesting concept. It's backed up by a lot of data and analysis. Kids that have challenges in life, kids that are going through tough times. A dog is one of those animals, and it's recognized in the state of Massachusetts as a source of therapy. It can take somebody, and I've seen it. It's amazing, actually, and there's a million videos online, and you can look at it. It can take somebody who is maybe having a rough day, maybe going through a difficult time at home, whatever that might be. Just sitting down with a dog like this, it's amazing to watch the change in the behavior, and that child, young adult, it just calms them.
Makes a huge difference. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
well, so to your point, Bethany was actually telling me about a story of a young girl who'd come in. She was crying, having a bad day, and and she has sort of an issue where she doesn't. Once she gets to that point, it's hard for her to come back from it. This young girl.
Yes.
And the dog brought her, but George, the dog brought her right back. Like she was laughing and happy, and I mean, it's amazing.
So this program
really cool.
is solely as a just for the school resource officer program. It is solely a therapy dog only. That's all the dog will be trained in, to be clear. And it's a process. And hats off to Officer Bonzar. She's done a phenomenal job. She came in here last year in July from another department, and we hired her full time. And she's hit it out of the park. She comes in every day, dedicated to her job, excited about her job. And focused, and with Sergeant Manning leading the charge over there at the school resource officer program. We have Matt Koziol over at the Vogue School, and we're going to be adding another part-time school resource officer position come July. The program is really ramping up, and I'm excited. I'm excited to have them come in a couple weeks and explain the program a little bit more and to clarify and give you some of the ins and outs and details. But hats off to anybody that takes the initiative to do something positive and something good for the community, and that's what she's done. And
well, and you, like you said, on her own dime, basically. She's done this on her own without, department assistance.
And this fits in. We're moving. We're a community policing department, and my goal over the next 3 to 5 years is to really, ramp that up and to focus more and more on the community policing aspect. And obviously the school resource officer program is a huge commitment by us, and it will continue to be so. And these little, I don't want to say little, but these things that we add to the program just add so much luster and so much of an asset to the community. And they've discussed a lot of other good ideas, and I want to let them come in a couple of weeks and give you all the details.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to your point, it may seem like a sort of a small, simple thing. You're bringing a dog in so that the kids can interact, but it's a major thing when you have an issue with a person who's, got an emotional issue, or just, you just need some way to like calm a class down, or maybe get everybody to focus or whatnot. It's really a cool program. And hats off to Officer Bonzar for doing the work that she's done.
Yeah.
She's done it really well.
And I'd really encourage people not to just dismiss it, that may not be familiar with it. Go and look at some of the videos, look at some of the data and the analysis. The facts are is that it works, and there's a lot of information, factual information that supports that, and I'm very excited, and I have nothing but good things to say, obviously, about it.
You must feel comforted knowing that you have more people now in the schools. I mean, we have 4 high schools, as well as our elementary and middle school, but having that, I bet you sleep a little better at night, at least knowing that you've got some people that are there watching, especially with everything that's happened in the last couple of decades, in schools. And I imagine people in town probably feel really good knowing that we have so many SROs, and you guys have been focusing on this so much.
Yeah, absolutely. going from one to almost four now full-time school resource officers is a great thing, and I commend everyone, the schools that have worked with us and made this happen, the Board of Selectmen who have supported us in making this happen. There's a lot of things that go on. Everybody gets paid, and there's salaries, and there's benefits, and there's all these other things that have to be worked out. And everybody has jumped on board. They've been very supportive, and we've been able to get that done collaboratively as a team. That's the way to get things done, always. And so I'm very excited about it, and it's a full commitment. This is where we're going. This is only just one piece of overall our schools and their commitment to the schools. But what they bring in, they're not just standing there. It's not a guard. We're not hiring a security guard.
Right. Yeah, it's not a guy at the door with a machine gun.
They're bringing important programs into the school, and there's also that relationship building where school resource officer, their personalities, the people that we pick for these programs, and you want in there, and we're very fortunate to have that, are people that are very approachable, and that kids are going to be comfortable with. That's what the program's about. They're not there to, obviously, we have to take action if we have to.
Right, of course.
But they're not there to arrest kids. They're actually to help. And that's what happens 99.9% of the time. That's exactly what goes on. A kid may be going through something, comes in, and he wants to talk. He usually wants to talk to one of the school resource officers. And so it is a phenomenal program. Obviously, it gives you a great sense of comfort, but it's one part of a bigger part. There's a lot of things going on administratively within the schools. They've worked very closely with us on security and everything else. And so hats off to everyone in the community that has worked closely and that takes this to heart, and that has done a really good job.
I imagine Sergeant Manning's probably enjoying it too a bit, because he's not spread as thin as he once was. Now having an officer in basically every school, so that's probably really helpful.
Sergeant Manning's an anomaly. He's been there in the schools 22 years, I believe, 23. I might be off on that by a year or so. He is incredibly committed.
He does a great job.
He's obviously he's a phenomenal member of our department. Positive, brings a lot to the table, and the attitude's there, and the commitment's there, and he's focused on his job, and he just gets it done every day. And now to have people working with him that he's always wanted to bring into the schools, but hasn't been able to because he's been a one officer show. It's great. It's great to see, and he's very excited about it and where we can go from here.
Let me I just want to remind everybody real quick. I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but if you're watching on either Facebook or YouTube, feel free to chime in, and otherwise you can watch us on the normal channels on Comcast 8, Verizon 29, and at tyngsboroughma.gov. Where you can watch our live video on demand and streaming service. So one of the other cool things that happened this week, and related to Officer Bonzar, because she put this all together, was she brought in this Save a Life tour to the school, which was powerful. I got to say, it was everybody. There was quite a few people crying in the room. Everybody was a little weepy watching, very emotional. Very interesting program, and dramatic, obviously, because of the nature of it. But it was all about drunk driving, and then distracted driving with cell phones and obviously other things, eating a sandwich and whatnot. What did you think about that? The program?
As you know, I was there. What can you say? I mean, phenomenal. Great job. This is the school resource officer program that brought this in. Bethany had done some. Officer Bonzar had done some research. And sorry, Bethany, your last name I still butcher, and I'm working on it. Officer Bonzar, and she did the research, and she found that she thought that this company was the best. There's a lot of companies offering similar type things, and this country does tour. This company does tour the country, and very emotional. That movie at the beginning, the 15-minute movie, very realistic looking, and from our perspective, from law enforcement, we've seen these things. Anybody that's been in this for a while.
You've been to the snes.
I've been doing this 28 years now. It's hard to believe, but 20 years. Everybody that's been in law enforcement, a few years or more, has seen these type of accidents and scenes. And it, how many times can you repeat it? A split second is all it takes. If you are texting while you're driving, you're putting me in danger. You're putting everybody else on the road in danger and yourself, and everybody in your car. And for that one moment that you want to reply to a text or anything else, if you think that's worth it, it's so the aftermath is you're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your family's life. You're going to ruin other people's life and their family's life. So you might as well, if you're texting, the analogy that was always given to me is close your eyes for 5 seconds while you're driving.
Right.
And
good luck.
How do you feel about that? That's what you're doing.
It's a horrible thing.
That's exactly
it really
what
is.
you're doing.
The sad part is everywhere you go,
I
like
know.
even leaving, I saw people doing it, you know, driving on the road and stuff. It's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But what was interesting and what really made me think was, you know, you think of distracted driving now as being just texting people on their cell phones. That's not just the case. It can also be like in the instance of that video, the guy was eating a sandwich and adjusting his GPS. You know, so it doesn't have to be. Doesn't even have to be. It's any distraction, really. It can be the thing.
We hear about those all the time.
One of the biggest
you
ones.
know, people eating at the wheel, people doing everything. The story that was in that movie, somebody just eating. They weren't on their phone. They weren't. You know, they weren't drunk. Just simply somebody eating at the wheel and distracted. Their life is forever changed. They know they're good. They're not a criminal. They screwed up, and now they've taken somebody's life. And they're going to have to live with that the rest of their life. The family incredibly forgave that teenager.
Which was, that was really interesting.
Which was amazing. And I don't know if I'd be strong enough. It's hard to say as a parent, right? But to watch that, but those families are forever changed. And all for that, you're driving a 2,500-pound weapon.
That's
what you're doing.
2,500-pound
get
bullet.
From point A, get point B, and then take care of what you do. And you know what? We all have to, let's be honest, we all have to remind ourselves of that. And it's tempting. And somebody calls you, and but if your car is not equipped and you can't set it up wirelessly and on Bluetooth, and there's no other way to do it, just stay off the phone until you get where you're going.
Put it down.
Off the road. But anyways, going back to the what they did and they put together, it was great. The obviously the interaction for people who haven't seen it. It's not funny, but it's obviously interactive, but it just gives you a really quick view of what it's like. You know, we actually had to hold the cell phone and take text messages and try to drive
while you're driving, which you did terrible at, by the way.
I really did bad. I did bad. Thank you.
It's okay,
Thanks,
though,
Steve.
right? That's a good thing, right?
I guess that's a good thing. Apparently, I need more practice.
Or you don't, and you're doing it right.
Yeah, I think it took me about 15 seconds to crash. Or I'm just a bad driver. So, and then the other machine they had was for drunk driving. So there was delay, and that's what happens with drunk drivers. And I like the fact that they pointed out, because I've heard it from people that I know and friends, and that I get better at driving when I'm drunk because I'm more focused.
I heard that too.
So no, you're not.
You think you're more focused.
It's impossible. It's just not true. There's no facts to support that. It's cute, but it's not true. You're putting everybody in danger. You're putting yourself in danger, and just why? And now we have Uber, we have Lyft, we have all these different options.
A taxi, even just
you have friends, you have taxi. There's no excuses whatsoever.
Everybody's got a phone in their pocket. They can call somebody and get a whatever there to pick them up.
And as we know, 99.99% of the people are good people, and they're not criminals. But it doesn't take much if you're on the road and you're distracted, or you're drunk, or you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, and you take somebody's life. Your life is forever changed. If you have any conscience at all, it is. And everybody else around you, and the person you hit, and everybody else, just not worth it. But these are the type of programs where the school resource officer program shines. The schools shine because it brings so much value to the kids. I got some really nice text messages from people in the community that I know, and most things that I deal with in the town. I'll receive feedback. I get text messages from people that I don't even have saved on my phone. And when you're getting stuff like that back from, hey, I'm not sure if you know me, but this is Steve Brogan over on whatever street. Hey, I just want to reach out. That program that your school resource officer put on was phenomenal. My son came home today and he was in tears, saying that, talking about him and text messaging, and those are really when you're reaching out and you're reaching kids like that. It's fantastic.
Right. Well, it's working. There was a woman on one of the posts that I'd put up of the event. who had commented that her son had come home and that's all he was talking about was the whole thing. And while I was there, I spent a lot of time, I was taking photos, but I spent a lot of time just kind of observing the kids to see what their reactions were. And they were all really into it. And they were having, laughing, kind of yucking it up a little bit, having a good time. But at the same time, they got it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like it was really clicking the little gears in their head where, you could see them spinning. So they were definitely understanding that it was important.
And that's what all we can do is keep sending that message home.
Right.
And, we didn't have we still had distractions when, I was growing up. There's distractions, there's drunk driving.
Right.
We didn't have the cell phones,
Right.
but there's just other things, I don't know how many, Big Macs I tried to eat while I was driving in the car. And
We've all
you
done
think
it,
back and, geez, probably not the smartest thing I ever did. So.
Yeah, chicken nuggets, French fries, you name it. We've all done it, and not to obviously we don't want to come off as high and mighty. We've all done it.
Everybody has.
I will admit,
every 100%. Everybody has. So, but I think these programs, especially getting kids while they're in school, maybe just getting the license, just about to get their license, even if we put the thought in their head, even if you reach only a few kids, I mean, it can make the difference.
Do you think something like this hits home better with kids than the sort of the typical, like they bring a wrecked car and they show you how the jaws of life and all that stuff? Do you think that hits better?
I think both. We actually just talked about this yesterday.
Okay.
And there's going to be, and again, I want to leave room for Sergeant Manning and Officer Bonzo to talk about this in a couple of weeks. But there's programs that they want to bring in, and there's a thought that of kind of mixing it up year to year, and that may be a future one for next year. Where we do something like that. We do a scenario and make it as live as possible.
Can I play the dead guy?
Sure can. You can do whatever you want. Right. I think there's something to be said about the shock value.
Yeah, that's true.
To get through that, this is actually real stuff. This is what's going to happen. It's not baloney. It's not a story.
Right.
It can happen in Tyngsborough. It can happen in Dunstable.
Happen anywhere. Yeah.
It can happen in a big city. It doesn't matter. It happens everywhere. And doesn't make you a criminal. A criminal doesn't have to do it. It can be anybody. It can be any of us. And so, I think a mix. They're coming up with some different programs. That's what I'm excited about, is that the passion that I see with them and working with this, it's great. This is what you want.
Does this kind of replace the old DARE program? Is this sort of like an updated version of that, do you think?
So the DARE program, as as we knew it, has changed, has evolved over time. There are new programs that are rolling out, and again, I want to leave that to Sergeant Manning to come in. I had planned to bring him in and talk about that. But there are programs that incorporate a lot of the DARE principles into it. But there's going to be a new program we're going to rolling out, and I already promised Sergeant Manning that I let him kind of roll that out. And we're going to bring him in a couple weeks. And
he's going to love you for that.
Yeah. Well, he loves to talk. He loves talking more than me. So he'll do a better job than I can talking about it. And but it'll be a positive thing for the schools. We've been working with the schools on it. It's going to incorporate a lot of those same principles and some new ones.
So tying in with this discussion about distracted driving, whatever that case may be, and drunk driving and all the other things that can cause an accident, potential accidents. There's actually been a number of stories, even just recently. So there was one just the other day in the state of Maine where a state trooper unfortunately was killed. And it turned out, I had actually posted something on the police page about the move over law in relation to that story. Turned out it was something that wasn't tied down correctly actually on the guy's vehicle that ended up hitting the trooper, unfortunately. It's a terrible situation, but what advice, I guess, do you have for people in terms of like, so obviously one, the move over law is what it is. If you see blinking lights anywhere, you're supposed to try to move over a lane if you can, but like, securing loads, things like that. We've talked about cleaning off even your windshield in the wintertime, that kind of stuff.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Because it's common sense to most of us. And there's just a small percentage of people that just don't seem to put the thought into things, certain things. Making sure whose responsibility is it if it's not yours to get all the snow off the top of your car, or just let it blow off and see what happens behind you and blow all over everybody else's cars and ice chunks and everything else. Not tying down the back of your truck properly. Whose responsibility is that? Is that yours or is that somebody else's? It's yours, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
We all have responsibilities, and we kind of need to take care of our own business, and you hope people do that, and most people do. Vast majority do. It's awful that trooper and his family are are now going to suffer, and the trooper's gone, and his family's going to live with that for the rest of their life,
Right.
and shouldn't have happened. And we see these things happen a lot. We talked about it a few months ago, where local community on the highway, ice chunk came off a roof of vehicle.
Yes, right. Yep.
Clearly hadn't scraped off his roof enough, and went right through the windshield. There was a child sitting in that passenger seat. Luckily, it didn't hit him. You put up the trooper.
Yep, that's the trooper from Maine.
Rest in peace, and it's awful.
Yeah,
awful.
Condolences to the family for sure. And
it's a very dangerous job. They and the troopers are constantly on the highway. It is extremely dangerous. And if you see a cruiser, that's the lights are the warning. Get over a full lane, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen, and leave space.
And hence the move over law. That's
and that's the whole point of it. And just having that gap, that makes all the difference in the world. So.
Right. Well, I mean, for anybody, I don't know how many people have actually stood on the side of a highway. If you ever had to change a tire or something, when cars are whipping, it's very scary. Yeah. Not to mention, when they're in the lane right next to you, they whip past you. There's a bit of suction there too, because the wind that's being drawn on that vehicle. You can actually kind of get pulled a little bit in and fall over if you're off balance, or it's scary. So that's why the move over law. Be careful, give them some space, even if it's just somebody towing or rather changing a tire. I'll actually even try to move over as well if I can.
Yep.
Just because you don't want to be that close to them. It's scary for them, it's scary for you. You don't want to cause an accident. But with this incident, I mean, it's entirely preventable. Take the 30 seconds, walk around your truck or whatever vehicle it is, and make sure your stuff's tied down. I had a guy once, actually, was going up Middlesex Road, and a refrigerator fell off the back of his truck. Luckily, I was back just far enough. I was able to swerve around it, and I guess my reflexes were quick enough. But man, that could have been really bad, because you're going 50 miles an hour.
I think that's happened to all of us on the highway at one time or another. It is scary.
It's wicked.
Scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those like, whoa, I got to go home and to change. You know what I mean? It's frightening.
Yep.
So be careful. Watch out for those folks. And there was one other one. Pull up the story about this one's on the sort of funnier side, but it still pertains to the distracted driving.
I'm still thinking about you having to go home and change. I really didn't need to hear that, but go ahead.
I mean, I didn't want. So this one's kind of on the comical side, but again, distracted driving is. So she had a goat on her lap, but any pet, dogs, cats.
Come on, that's not true.
Is it? No, really, it was up in New Hampshire. Yeah, I mean, only in New Hampshire you would see this happen.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe other places too. Yeah, true. But lends to the whole distracted driving thing. Be careful if you have pets. If you get into an accident, I think we've talked about this before, but if you get into an accident with a pet on your lap, that's probably not going to make it.
Yeah, and that's you're putting an animal at risk as well, in danger. So absolutely, great point.
Yeah, so just be careful. It's all
common sense.
Common sense, exactly. Common sense. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate that. So that was fun. One other thing that happened this week that was really fun, and I got to throw a shout out to the Tyngsborough Fire Department as well. But was the Lighted Up Blue event that happened over at the PD, where you guys lit it up blue for autism. That was really neat.
Our officers do a great job, don't they?
Yes, very much so.
Vast majority come in, just do the job every day, and there's a lot of officers who, they really enjoy doing these things and stepping up, and we have a bunch that were very excited and, let me know what was going on, and they were putting this together, and we're going to have a better one next year. They're already starting to plan it, and there's a few of them, and it's I love seeing that stuff. Yeah. And thank you to you as well.
Absolutely.
And on behalf of the police department and fire department, and it is a great thing, and just a small thing like that and awareness, but it also makes you it shows you the community is really a positive and good strong community,
caring community too. Yeah. And to me personally, it showed a great sense of community spirit, not only for the Lighted Up Blue part, but so I wanted to be able to get a good picture of this thing, and I was trying to figure out how to get up high enough. We were thinking about the drone and all these other things. I asked the guys at the fire department, hey, would you mind bringing a truck over so I could stand on it to get the picture? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. They wanted to bring the ladder and do all these things. I'm like, no, I just need a few feet. But, the fact that even they would do that, stopping traffic so we could get the shot, things like that. I mean, that was really cool. It really does show, to me, a sense of community spirit and this togetherness. It's not like, we don't want to mess with it. There's none of that groveling and the stuff where people kind of grumble and stuff.
And
everybody works together.
And the fancy camera work of having it upside down.
Yeah, right.
That was fantastic too.
I hate technology some days. I'm telling you right now. Oh man, we hit live and the thing was like flip phone sideways, and I'm like, no, we want it this way. No, it fought me the whole darn thing. Anyways, apologies for that because you had to watch that.
We can't laugh at ourselves. We're in trouble.
Exactly. It was a good day though. Either way, it was fun. It was a long day, that's for sure. So what else is going on new with the department these days lately?
We're just like everyone else, just in budget season.
Yes. Yeah,
We're
good times.
waiting for the final numbers to hopefully improve for the town, and that helps everybody, obviously. And as it's been explained to us, the initial numbers from the governor didn't look too good as far as local aid, and we're hoping that that's going to change.
I hope so.
And when the cherry sheets come out, but just keep our fingers crossed. So it's a little bit better than it is. So.
Do you have any grants or anything like that coming up, or any opportunities where there's some other potential income coming?
There's
in,
always
that kind of stuff?
grants that we're working on. There's some ones that we get every year for communications and some other ones, traffic grants. We do have one that's being worked on right now. It's under the COPS grant, and the focus actually is on the schools and school resource officer programs. So we apply to it every year, and typically there's a very limited amount of money. They typically go to metropolitan police departments, very large communities. But we will continue, as most departments do. We apply every year. We put our best foot forward. I have a lieutenant that works on the grants. He works with Sergeant Manning in the schools because a lot of the information is geared towards the schools. And when we have a growing community and a growing need for the school resource officer program, it puts us in a better position for sure when we apply. So we're going to continue to. That's a big focus, and we do look for other ones.
I think I've asked you this before, but does the fact that we have 4 high schools give us kind of a leg up when it comes to like SRO-related grants and programs?
You would think it would. It doesn't hurt, and I'm sure it. Perhaps it helps somewhere. We can certainly show a need, which is one of the criteria. But does it give us full leg up? I'm not really sure. A lot of it's based on population as well.
Right. Okay.
But we do have, for the size of our community, we have an oddly large size school system, obviously, because of the various schools that we have in our community. That is different. That's unique. And we have, essentially over almost half our population on a daily basis is in the schools.
Wow.
So it's incredible.
That's a lot of kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Jeez. I didn't realize the numbers were that high.
Yep.
Can we talk about the any info on the blinking light at the bridge?
The blinking light.
the bridge, the Tyngsborough Bridge. I
the
know that's
blinking light. So you're talking about the left turn,
not blinking, excuse me, but
to go over the bridge.
Right, the left turn
Thanks.
arrow. Yes.
Thanks, Steve.
That's what it meant.
This has now turned into a hostile interview. I'm going to storm off.
I'm sorry. Everybody on Facebook is like, oh, we got to hear about this.
So we're well aware of it. I've been working with the state for years. We've changed the delay in the light several times.
Which was working good at one point.
It worked very well, actually. It significantly reduced car accidents, especially the serious ones because of the delay. So what we did is, it used to be when the lights, so there's a left turn lane dedicated, so you're coming southbound, and then there's 2 straight lanes. So the light would turn, if the lights were green, they turn red. So then they turn back to green. That left arrow would suddenly go from green to a blinking left arrow. And the problem is that people would think that they're still okay to go, and a lot of people would just cut in front of oncoming traffic that was coming northbound.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So what we did is, and yes, we knew that, and I knew that it was going to cause additional backup. We made that a solid light, no more blinking. It was too confusing, and the chances of accident versus having somebody wait another couple minutes. Sorry, that's a better priority. But what we did is we added time. So that was a very quick light, and that was one of the problems.
You could get about 3 cars
when
through
we
that.
originally looked at it, I think it was like 7 seconds, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we upped it to 25 seconds, which we looked at it every single time. It was about 9 or 10 cars could get through, which seemed very reasonable. So the problem is that there are still sensors. The sensors are up where the lights are, and they look at the traffic. And we've been told by the state. We had a meeting with them a couple months ago here over with the sewer department about the work that's going to be starting on the sewer project. And I've also known, and they've been telling me for a couple of years, those sensors are old. So sometimes they give false signals. If it's heavy wind, if it's raining, they may detect that there's no cars there when there are, in fact, cars there, and they'll switch the light out. The reason those sensors are still activated is because, so we have the left turns at 25 seconds. But if it's, 10 o'clock at night and you're sitting there and there's no traffic anywhere else, there's no reason for it to run 25 seconds. There's 2 cars want to turn left. So it's going to let the 2 cars go, and then the sensor is going to pick up there's no more cars, and it's going to blink off. But the other problem is there's a man-made problem, which is, and we talked about cell phones. So one of the ones that's interesting and that was brought up to me by one of the members of the state, the DOT, is that, so let's just say the 3rd car in line, somebody is on their cell phone, or they're distracted somehow.
Speaking of cell phones.
So they're distracted somehow.
Yeah.
And they don't go immediately. So the other 2 cars have gone, and now there's a big space. The sensor up above the intersection detects the space, switches the light, goes to red. Because that person is delayed. So it's not as simple as saying the intersection is screwed up. That is causing it. I watched it.
Okay.
So, but yes, it is very true that the state has acknowledged that the technology is old. It needs to be replaced. We have asked for them to replace it.
Is there a version of that that's smarter, that knows how to like maybe wait a couple extra seconds?
My understanding, not only smarter, but works better.
Okay.
It's just newer technology. This technology, I think, is pretty old.
Okay.
So we have requested. I've spoken to the town administrator actually just over this past week, and we have asked for another meeting, face-to-face meeting. Waiting to set that up. Hopefully, I'm hoping next week.
Oh, good.
And we're going to sit
people
down.
Are comforted by
sit
that.
down again. And so, to everyone out there, we're aware of it. We do have our officers check the intersection on a nightly basis to make sure there's nothing major going on with the lights. They do seem to be working. We had them back out a week and a half ago. They readjusted and reset them because somehow the left turn had reset back to 7 seconds.
Oh no, really?
Which
I saw a bunch of posts on Facebook and stuff about it.
People are right to be mad. I get it. But we had set that to 25 seconds for a purpose. So my understanding is that has been addressed, and it's been addressed.
Okay.
But the sensors still have not been addressed by the state. We are urging them to address it.
Okay.
We have had meetings with them. We'll continue to, and we'll continue to try to get that done.
Technology, folks. So gotta love it.
I'm with the complaints. I don't disagree with any of them, but there's also a human element occasionally as well.
Something I was confused about, the sensors at the light, is it optical only, or is there a pressure pad involved as well?
No, it's a sensor up above the intersection. It's not a pressure pad.
Okay, so it's just optical.
It's that, and so whether or not people believe it, this is what I was told by DOT, is so these are sensitive in their older technology. So like I said, they get affected by the rain, they get affected by the wind. I was also told if the sun's shining a certain way and it reflects off of the river, believe it or not, that it will pick that up. So
many things working against us on this
so
thing.
it all sounds really just too complicated.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is to eliminate the sensors. But the problem is that if you eliminate the sensors, then you're going to be sitting there. We're going to have to just set a timer. And it doesn't matter how many cars are one intersection. It's not going to be a smart intersection.
Okay.
So it won't read there's 2 cars. It doesn't care. It's still going to make you wait 30 seconds or 45 seconds or a minute or whatever it is. That's the whole point of having the sensor. So the answer is to get the state to replace them. So we'll continue to work with them on doing that.
I feel like at an intersection like that too, you can't not have the smart technology, smart sensors there, because it's too much traffic.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, and with all the big, you got Route 3 coming from one way and the bridge traffic, and then both people coming from New Hampshire and Mass.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely agree, and absolutely agree with everybody out there who's concerned. Please contact me directly, and I will add you to the list. And I think the feedback on social media is great and everything else, but I'd like to hear it directly. To be quite honest with you, because I can pass that directly on. I'm not necessarily on all those forums, and I can pass that directly to the state.
What email address do you want people to send that stuff to?
PDChief at Tyngsborough.ma.gov.
Okay.
Or Howe at Tyngsborough.ma.gov.
Okay, good. We'll also post that in the description so that people can contact you that way.
It's 100% a legitimate complaint, and people, I get why they're annoyed.
I wonder what caused the reset from 25 back to 7. Maybe a power outage or
I don't know. I suspect we did lose our local. Our DOT person that had been assigned to this area for many years.
Oh, okay.
He got moved out, and we have somebody new. I don't know if when they were working on it, they had done it, or if there was a weather. That does occasionally happen, where there is some kind of a short, or it happens at other intersections. But I'm guessing that something changed when they were trying to reprogram it, because they were trying to address what the issue might be.
Okay.
So.
Well, we've had so many power outages and things too. And
I don't
just,
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything could have caused it. Yeah, we really don't know. It's speculation, honestly. But well, it's nice to know that's getting fixed and being looked at even more intensely.
It's not being ignored.
Yeah.
It is. I know it's frustrating, and I wish I had an instant answer, but I don't. But it's something the state needs to do, and we're going to continue to stay on them until it gets done.
Maybe its feelings were hurt because of all the 4-letter words being thrown.
I don't know.
We're just kidding. Yeah, all right. So good. That's good to know that that's getting fixed. Well, we're pretty much winding down to the end here. Got about just a couple minutes left. Any last final thoughts you want to?
No, I just I want to give kudos to the fire department for the event yesterday.
Oh, right, the Donate Life. Yes,
the
thank
Donate
you.
Life
We'll
event. And again, another great thing being done by town employees, and that really care, obviously, about the community and things around them. As you know, you were there, and that was simply about making awareness, giving people the information that's necessary, and how important it is to be an organ donor. And there were some people there, including a young child.
Right, recipients,
and from the Middlemiss family who life was saved by a transplant. So I think everybody's family, one way or the other, has been touched by the availability of a transplant. And so it's got to encourage people to jump on board and do it. If you haven't seen the video, it was a very nice ceremony put on by the fire department.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Kudos to Chief Russell and Deputy Sands and the other firefighters who put it on. And it was a good event. Yeah,
very cool event. I got a bunch of pictures that'll be coming out next week too of that, so you'll get to see some of that. And also, so you mentioned the folks that it's touched. One of our own on the fire department actually was a recipient of a transplant as well.
Yes.
And I'm working with him he's actually going to be coming on the show with a couple of other folks to talk about that whole thing, the whole program, and how talk about his story and how the whole thing transpired. It's amazing. I'm going to tell you right now, like when you talk about heroes,
absolutely,
like men in uniform are that's where it's at. But then this guy on top of it,
crazy,
had an amazing transplant too. When you hear the story, you're going to be like, wow, like like it floors you. It's amazing thing. But I've got a show coming up. We talked about the end of sometime in the next couple weeks. He's going to try to get on. We're going to coordinate something, so you'll get to hear that story. But very cool. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you guys know when that one's coming. But just a really cool event. Nice to see again the community spirit. Trying to get people signed up for Donate Life. I've always been kind of on the fence about it, though I've never known anybody that's ever received. I've never really, honestly, been even near anybody. I don't think that's ever actually received. Not that you would know necessarily, unless I told you. But it changed my mind. I'll be honest with you. It changed my mind. I've always been on the fence, like I said, about kind of like I kind of want to go back in the ground the way I came out. You know what I mean? But I don't think that way anymore. Honestly, that changed my impression of the whole thing.
Sure.
And having known now this gentleman, it's amazing. I don't want to tell who it is because I want to save it for. I want to put it in some suspense. But it's powerful. It really is. Just like the whole the Save a Life tour. Save a life by not being distracted driving or drunk driving, and Donate Life in the odd instance that it comes up that you can do that. That's a really cool program. Very, very cool. So, and very easy to sign up. I'm going to find the link. See if I can find it anyways. And we'll post that into the description as well, because you can actually sign up online. You can also do it at the registry. Of course, when you go to get your driver's license, you can get the little heart symbol put on yours that you're a donator, transplant, what do you call it? I can't think of the word of it. Anyways, you donate a body part if you need to, an organ or whatever. Organ donor, that's the word. It's been a long week. I'm sorry. It's been a really long week.
I knew you'd get there.
Yeah, eventually I'd get there. So really cool program. We'll post that in the description. You can check it out. Before we wrap up, I want to mention one more thing before we go. This is coming up May 4, 5, 10, and 11, and it is the play put on by the Tyngsborough High School Theater Group. It's Les Miserables, or Les Miserables, as I like to say. Terrible French. Very, very cool. Very, very cool play. Done off of obviously the original play with all the music and everything. We're going to do some short videos over there with Sarah Martin and her group doing some of the practicing. I'll show you some of that so you can get a little sneak peek. There are tickets available. You can get them at FOTtheater.org, excuse me. Again, May 4, 5, 7, and 10 and 11, excuse me, in different varying show times. So check each date for the different show times if you want to go check it out. Awesome program. If you're interested in donating to the Tyngsborough Theater Group, you can also find that info on FOTtheater.org as well. So they can definitely use it. They need all the help they can get to put on these plays. Very, very cool play. And they've done some really awesome plays in the past. Young Frankenstein, the Once on This Island play. They've had a ton of them. I can't even list them all off. Really cool stuff. So check that out. Go to FOTtheater.org. Again, we'll put that in the description so you can see it and get more information there. So that does it for us for the day. It is 12:01. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Chief, thank you again for being here, as always.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
You're welcome. And if you guys ever have any questions, don't forget sbrogan@tyngsboroughma.gov. I'll be happy to get answers for you if I can. Stay tuned for the recycling video when we get. We're going to do something on that very, very soon. As soon as the Board of Health health fair is over with. And also that discussion I told you about with the organ donor program, the Donate Life program, with one of our own firefighters from town talking about that program. So very, very cool, interesting story there. Don't forget, you can watch this broadcast on the multitude of Facebook pages that we share this across, as well as YouTube. You can always chime in and ask questions. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. You can also watch us on Comcast 8, Verizon 29, tyngsboroughma.gov, on our live video on demand and streaming service. And also don't forget that if it really, really helps us if you either like, comment, share, subscribe, depending on which social service you're on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube. It helps us get around all the Facebook algorithms and keeps these things in your feed, and also helps things show up in other people's feeds as well, so that we can get this information out there. There's obviously a lot of really important information directly town related. Some of the stuff is outside of town as well, but generally all kind of revolves around the town of Tyngsborough. So lots of really, really important information. Some of it's just us joking around, but most of it's important that we want to get out to as many neighbors, Tyngsborough residents as we can. So if you can, it really helps us to get this information out that much further. You can also see us on Twitter, Instagram. So tweet things or look for us on Instagram.
Stephen, if I could, just before we go off,
sure,
I do want to give a shout out to the officers of my department.
Yes.
Vast majority, just no different than anywhere else. Come in every day, do the job. A lot of it very unheard of. People don't know them because they could just come in and do their job. Late night shift, evening shift. People don't see you during the day. Typically do a fantastic job. We have a really great department. Fire department as well, same thing. Really dedicated to the community and do a great job day in, day out. And I want to thank all of them.
Awesome. Yes, always thank you, first responders. These guys really, they work tirelessly. And if anything goes wrong, who do you call? Not the Ghostbusters.
Well, you can call them too.
You can call them too, right? I don't know how long it'll take for them to show up.
Still a great movie.
Is it the Rosie O'Donnell Ghostbusters?
This is when I get old. I got to watch the original.
Wait, was it Rosie O'Donnell? Who was in the last Ghostbusters movie, Ray Sam? I forget.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
That's right. I remember that guy, yeah. Anyways, we're just kidding around.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, check us out on all those different places. And don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe. Aside from that, guys, hope you guys have a really nice weekend. It's supposed to be fairly nice, hopefully anyways. All that said, I will see you guys on Monday or Saturday at the health fair. Take it easy, everybody. Have a good one, and bye.
Thank you.